All right, so good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce today's presenter. His name is Attila, and he's a medical doctor in Europe, in my home country. Maybe you could guess that he's my brother. And despite that he's a medical doctor, his technical expertise could be very surprising. So he surpassed me in many areas, including Linux. For example, he's using hardened Gentoo, which I don't know if you know, you compile everything from source, from the ground up. So the only more badass distribution than hardened Gentoo is Linux from scratch, when you really build everything up your own. He's also a tinkerer, including his phone, and that's how he got into LineageOS. And maybe his Linux history is we started to use, I think I'm gonna speak in plural, we started to use Linux in 1996. I think we started with Slacker, and then shortly after that we transitioned to Debian, and we were Debian zealots for many years, 5-6 years at least. And then later I didn't follow him to Gentoo, but and he's also very keen on security. So with Debian we used Adamantix, which is a hardened secured version, and with Gentoo he's using the hardened, which means that it's more secured than just a single stock or a vanilla Gentoo. I don't know how to phrase that. So, and speaking of LineageOS, he's also like rooting his phone and unlocking, and likes to keep things under control, his hands. And maybe I will give you now the word to start to introduce us about LineageOS, CyanogenMod, and today's presentation will mostly be demonstrations, so there are no slide decks, and he mainly will show and demonstrate stuff as it is. So welcome, Ati, and thanks for all your coming.
Thank you for your time, and I hope that this demonstration will be valuable for you. My voice is okay?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
So yes, we started using Linux in 1996, and we built a firewall for our internet access pretty early. By that time, there were no routers or wireless stuff around for sharing the net in between many computers. At least it was banned for some ISPs that the end user should not share his or her internet for many machines. And we also, I don't know if you remember Csaba, but we did some experiments with some journaling file systems pretty early when they weren't officially included in the distribution, so we prepared special install media to be able to install journal file systems. I turned to Gentoo later on because of security, and when it turned out that Adamantix, the hardened flavor of Debian, won't be continued, and I'm a hardened Gentoo user since then. There are some problems nowadays around hardened Gentoo, but I don't want to go into details.
Maybe for another session. Maybe for another session for FOSUG we can.
Yeah. the GR security project announced that they discontinued publishing their security patch a couple of weeks ago. So they no longer provide their work for the public. This has many reasons behind, but I have to tell you that the two main developers of the project, one guy is Brad Sprangler from Germany, and the main developer started the whole project is Pax team, aka Pipac, which is a flower in Hungary. So they came up with this news, and the whole, I have to say that the whole security community is now contemplating on the future, what will happen next. It's touching me as well as a security aware person. I may move on. Actually, I'm a medical doctor. I don't want to spend a lot of words on that, but
don't talk about your medical profession, or let's move on to the cyanogen mode. In the if we talk about the past.
There are some medical doctors in the Linux community. I'm not a real expert, so I don't want to pretend that I'm a real hacker of Linux. But I think because of the long history being a Linux user, I have more experience than a lot of us, and I'm maintaining my own server. I'm also setting up my own Cisco router and doing stuff which is not usual for medical stuff. Okay, I go on. So what about Android? When I got my first I was a Palm user long before, and when I had to choose an operating system for my next phone after Palm devices were discontinued, I chose Android because I felt that it has some connection with Linux and that I would benefit from that that software architecture. I wanted to avoid locking myself in using iPhone, but I don't want to say bad things about iPhone. So, but I just wanted to avoid, and I always happy to use things I can hack a little bit. And one of my first Android phones was a Note 2, but it was a dual SIM version, and it could be only both in China and South Korea.
Note 2 by it was Samsung Galaxy Note 2.
Samsung Galaxy Note 2. This dual SIM variant, and it was a dual active device. So being dual active, first what you had to do after got this phone, you had to hack all the Chinese bloatware down from that phone and replace the Chinese stuff with the Google stuff to be able to use that as a functional device. So I started to hack around a little bit by that time. Unfortunately, I was very happy with that phone, but I had to move on because it was aging out and all the developers were moving on newer devices, and I had no choice. I cannot maintain something as a one-man army.
When you talk about developers of the ROMs you were using?
Of course, the company discontinued the phone for a long time when some ROM brewers still brewing some ROMs for the device. So I tried to use it a little bit longer than desired. But after those developers maintaining special ROMs for it also moved on to newer devices, I had to move on as well.
So maybe not every person knows what is a ROM. What is a ROM? when you say ROM and you're installing ROM?
ROM is basically the firmware of the device, which includes some booting environment, so to be able to start loading the OS. There are portions of the firmware or the ROM which are touching the baseband of the device, so the radio, mobile communication part, often containing proprietary stuff. And there's the part which is the operating system itself with all sorts of bundled software shipped with it. And there are many kinds of ROMs. The most basic ROMs are usually put on for Google Nexus devices, on which you can find the stock Android developed by Google as it is. And all companies are usually putting in a lot of other stuff, and they are often doing modifications which are often deeper or shallower depending on the vendor of the device. If they are introducing deeper changes in the environment they are shipping, it's harder for them to move on with changes in the stock Android. So
these ROMs you are talking about, are these specific to device models, manufacturer, or so how specific are they?
They are absolutely device specific. So if you have several variants of a given device regarding, there are often regional differences. So the vendor is shipping different variants of the same device to different regions of the world, which often mean nowadays these regional differences often revolve around LTE support, so 4G support, because the 4G bands are different in the US, in Europe, in some parts of Asia and China and Taiwan and stuff.
So like I have to be careful if I buy a Chinese, if I buy a device, it might be a Chinese variant, which the sellers might try to hack to be a US type device. And like when you were talking about your Samsung Note 2, it matters a lot that it's a dual SIM version, because that requires different ROM than a single SIM version, or very subtle differences matter. And you really need to be sometimes, like even the Galaxy Note series have different CPUs depending on if it's a European or dual or single SIM. There are many variants.
Absolutely. We will see an example during the demonstration for another phone. For example, Samsung has its own CPU called Exynos. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Exynos.
Yeah.
I don't know. And they are shipping this variant usually in Asia and sometimes in Europe. But for the US, they usually ship devices replaced, and they are replacing their own CPU with a Qualcomm. So the most common.
Qualcomm. Let me stop you for a second and ask the audience if they have any questions, or are they with us? All right.
So for example, either of you are buying an iPhone, or for example a OnePlus One 3T. OnePlus 3T. These devices have three variants: one for the US, one for Europe and Asia, and one for China. And these are different regarding their basebands. So if you are buying the Chinese variant, you most probably won't be able to use it in the US for 4G data transmission. And this is also true for iPhones. So,
or maybe you can use it just the offered baseband channels, they have just a very small cross section, and so you won't be able to. Maybe you will be able to access a couple of bands, but not the.
There are hacks available in the community sometimes for a given phone to unlock some LTE bands, but of course I should say that these are completely unsupported, and you cannot really count on these to work.
Now, mentioning unlock, so if you want to apply not just LineageOS but any kind of custom ROM or any kind of custom ROM on your device, what do you have to do? Do you have to like root it and unlock it?
Yeah, usually for at least some time you have to unlock it. You surely have to unlock it, but unlocking it doesn't mean unlocking how do you say unlocking the service provider. Mm-hmm. It means unlocking the boot process of the phone to be able to boot into a different ROM you are setting up.
Yeah, so there are two types of unlocking, and I don't necessarily have to unlock myself from AT&T or Verizon or whatever I am with. I need to unlock the bootloader.
And device vendors usually differ in the degree they are friendly with the users wanting to unlock their bootloader to be able to use custom ROMs.
What?
So Samsung is very strict regarding that. They even developed a hardware solution which represented by a fuser in the processor, which will be just fused upon you are trying to unlock the device and root it, and you cannot make it back. So you cannot turn it back. And at the service, if you need some service and you go to the provider, they will be able to surely spot the traces you did something with the ROM. But other vendors are usually more friendlier to the customers who want to hack their phones. For example, ASUS is a company which usually lets the user unlock the phone upon request. So you can request for an unlock code from them, and there are also unsupported ways you can get some codes to unlock it. But you can go with the official way. Maybe you need to go to a Chinese homepage and do a Google translation to be able to get the unlock code, but you can do it in the official way. And for example, Xiaomi is also a company which is friendlier from this regard. I don't know if I pronounced it right.
Xiaomi. I don't know how to pronounce it either.
You can access YouTube videos when South Korean and Chinese people pronouncing their vendor names, but I'm surely not right about that. So, and OnePlus is also a very friendly company.
Yeah, so you either are lucky and you have a phone which officially easily supports unlocking, or you need to go to the forums like XDA developers and search. Yeah. And I think often you can find YouTube videos as well if it's common enough. And so do I have to root my phone as well, or that doesn't matter?
You do not necessarily have to root your phone in order to do that, but you surely have to do the unlocking with devices of nowadays, and unlocking means that you will lose your data. So unlocking involves a full wipe.
Yeah, you need to back up your device before that.
You have to be prepared if you are doing this. For the first step, when you are unlocking your phone to be able to receive the new ROM, you will lose your data, so you have to do a backup if it's not a completely new device.
And so what is this, when you are unlocking, what is this bootloader you were talking about?
there are usually dedicated. Each device is a little bit different usually, but there are dedicated partitions for basic code, which there's a boot code which is used to load the operating system. It's not like the PC BIOS, but it's something like that. So
can I say it's something like, if I'm using Linux, that it's something like grub, that before boot I can select stuff, that's the bootloader?
It's something like that, and also it's something like the BIOS. When you are restarting the device, it depends on your, also as well on your BIOS, how you can select, how you can boot onto different partitions. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit different on the mobile phones, but basically there's the boot code, and there's also boot partition of the firmware. Of each firmware you will find a boot part, which will be flashed into the boot partition. So there's some boot code in there.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's another important part. There's always a recovery partition, and recovery means that you can boot into your recovery partition containing some basic stuff. So after booting in the recovery, you can do some maintenance, and you can do some modifications to the device and the operating system flashed onto it. Mm-hmm. So it's very important during replacing your ROM that after you are unlocked your phone, you are flashing a modified recovery on it. Mm-hmm. And after that, you unlocked it and flashed the new recovery. You are booting in the new recovery, and you can use the new recovery you flashed onto it to flash the other parts you want and modify.
So are these when we are replacing, are these bootloaders what you are replacing? I came across, I have a sense that there are just a few of them which are very popular, like TWRP or the TWRP. Is that perception good? That or there are a lot of these bootloaders?
I think it depends on the popularity of the given device, but for most devices you will find a TWRP, which is TeamWin recovery. I don't know if I can show
show stuff for us, please.
So
now we are seeing your face.
We are taking a look at on my browser now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm showing this tab with the TV.
Wait. We don't see it. You wanna share your desktop, no?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not. Screen 1. I don't know if it's.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. One note here that you are seeing a Windows screen, but the reason for that the LineageOS demonstration is in a virtual machine, and it for technical reason or non-technical management reason it happens to be on a Windows machine. But yeah.
Yeah, the disclaimer is that although I'm a Linux enthusiast, I'm also forced to use Windows in my daily work. We have several softwares running on Windows, and of course I could run a Windows virtual machine, but I'm keeping two machines, both at my workplace and at home. So I'm doing some stuff on my Windows computer and some other stuff on my Linux. And I don't want to pollute my Linux machine with some Windows stuff, because as I'm using hardened Gentoo, in order to run a virtual machine, I would have to reduce the security settings for the virtual machine, and I don't want to do that. So that's why I'm keeping a separate machine for that.
And
So
so
you are
do you,
seeing the screen.
regardless of your host OS, do you advise, if I want to compile a LineageOS, do you advise to use a virtual machine, regardless of if it's on Linux on Windows? But
Not necessary. You can, if you are just experimenting, you may don't want to pollute your system. So it's better to use a virtual machine either in a Linux environment on a on a Windows. But if you prefer to do that, you can also make it possible to compile your own Android on any or most distributions you may use.
All right, let's get back to this TeamWin. What are you showing here?
This is the list of devices the TeamWin recovery is available for. So it's a long list.
And this usually when you unlock, you probably end up with this TeamWin.
Usually you are unlocking your bootloader, wiping the system, and nowadays system wipe is also necessary most of the time because the default Android installation and ROM has the most important partitions encoded. And in order to modify them, you have to remove the encoded stuff. So you have to format and wipe.
All right.
And after that, you are moving on, flashing TeamWin recovery to the recovery partition. I don't know. I also have some tabs open for cyanogen mode and LineageOS. I don't know if we want to say a couple of words about it before moving on.
Please say a couple of words if somebody may not know.
So LineageOS comes from cyanogen mode, and cyanogen mode was a custom-built Android which was very similar to the stock Android, and it all started with HTC Dream device. And over the years, a huge community gathered around this initiative, and these kinds of cyanogen ROMs became available for many devices. Most of the time, if the device supplies enough, the vendor supplied enough information to be able to do the modifications for the given device, it became available. Unfortunately, there are some CPUs nowadays used by vendors which doesn't ship the necessary information for the developers to be able to include it in the list of supported devices. For example, one example is Huawei Kirin chips. I don't know if I pronounced it right.
Huawei. I will write up. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Huawei.
For example, I have a Huawei P8 Max, and this device contains a high silicon Kirin CPU, and this is developed by the company, and because they doesn't ship enough information to let the developers support it, this device will never be supported, probably by cyanogen mode or LineageOS. And there can be devices like that. All high silicon Kirin chip devices won't be supported. But Qualcomm and Exynos is supported, fortunately. So getting back to cyanogen mode, it became quite popular, and the official recovery for cyanogen mode is the TeamWin recovery. I think it's notable that the company became so popular that they tried to commercialize it. and there came Cyanogen Incorporated, and for some time, I don't know how long, they shipped their operating system for OnePlus as well.
Yeah, the OnePlus One.
And
I don't
the
know
OnePlus One.
if you know, guys. So there's a device called OnePlus. This is the logo. It's a I would say poor man's high-end phone, because so this one is as capable as the Pixel XL, but it's like half price. And it out of the box it supports unlocking, so I don't have to like do any kind of hacking and stuff too much to unlock it. They really support you to, okay, you want to unlock it, you just fix it.
It's hacker friendly. It became available or released in 2014, and first it was only available for persons having a special referee. So it wasn't openly available for all the public.
I don't know if all parts is open source, to be honest. I know that the original OS on it is Oxygen now, so they switched over from Cyanogen to their own derivative of Android. But it's in general it's pretty supportive against for tweaking it and modifying it. Okay.
Yeah. So
what happened with Cyanogen?
Unfortunately, the commercialization effort became unsuccessful, and but there are still some devices. I'm going down. There are still some devices shipped by Cyanogen mode by default. So, for example, apart from OnePlus One, for example, Lenovo ZUC Z1, for example, shipped with Cyanogen OS by default. And this is something like when you are buying a router or a wireless router shipped by OpenVRT or DDVRT. So these devices are meant for those who are open to hack their device. So after the unsuccessful commercialization, the operators of Cyanogen decided to move on, but because of some legal reasons and licensing issues, they had to change the name of the whole project and change their name to LineageOS.
Yeah, they literally forked the source code, right?
They forked the source code, and they had to do a find and replace on all occurrence of Cyanogen to LineageOS. And this transition happened pretty quickly. It happened during the last quarter of 2016.
Yeah, not so long ago.
And in a couple of months, all the backbone structure and all sorts of compiling machines and stuff in the background were up and running. So they did a very good job setting up their project under this new name. So I'm closing Cyanogen mode now.
Yeah, and, let's move on to the demonstration.
And why I have to say a couple of words on why I became interested in it. After I had to choose a new phone, after the Note 2, I moved on to Asus Zenfone 2. But I had some problems with it answering calls, so I even found another device, this Huawei P8 Max. But I have a problem with this device is that they don't supply fresh ROM for it for a year now. So the company is just shipping the phone, and then they are just doesn't care what happens with, for example, Android security issues.
Wow.
The whole stuff is very good. The hardware is quite good, but I don't like the idea that I'm running a device with a lot of open security holes. So I started to look for another device,
And you said that
and
this one is not compatible with the Cyanogen because of the CPU?
Because of the CPU.
Uh-huh.
And I was searching for a device, and I thought that this device, Xiaomi Mi Max, would be a good thing to try.
Okay.
It's a reasonably new device and has a specification which is very close to the Huey.
Okay.
It runs on a Qualcomm CPU, so it's supported. And I became interested in it, but it's very important here to note that it has two versions. The simple version has Snapdragon 650, and there's a Prime model with Snapdragon 652. The first one is a 6-core CPU, and the Prime model ships with an octa-core.
Why does this matter?
And I wasn't really paid attention for this difference, and I bought the Prime model because it had more RAM. So because of the more RAM, you see that the Prime model has more RAM.
Mm-hmm.
I bought the Prime model.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out that, unfortunately, LineageOS supports the device, but it basically gives support to the ordinary version of it. And if you want to use it optimally for the Prime model, you have to make some modifications.
But
so
it's possible. Is there a recipe to do these modifications, and then you can compile it?
I will show you some modifications.
Okay. Yeah, let's go for the demos. I think everybody's waiting.
So this gave the initial kick for me to take a look at on LineageOS.
Mm-hmm.
When you are about to start to build your own, first you have to prepare your environment. You can find a lot of help regarding how to do that. I thought that I will start with a virtual machine dedicated for compiling Androids called Build-Ubuntu VM.
Uh-huh.
If you are searching for it, you can find a dedicated thread at XDA developers, and you can download the whole virtual machine from its homepage.
Oh, that's cool.
I suggest you to download version 2, so the latest, which is thought to be beta, but the version 2 of the virtual environment contains OpenGDK 8, which is necessary for building recent Android builds. So we have to go for the version 2, or you can use your own Ubuntu install to do the preparations for the environment. So after you choose your virtual machine or your distribution, you have to set up some stuff which you can also...
Wait for a sec. Wait for a sec.
Yep.
Is the font size sufficient, or should he increase the font size?
Yeah, we could control plus a couple times, but
yeah. People ask for a little control. You do, yeah. Maybe another one. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry that I haven't did it earlier. So if you choose your build Ubuntu or Ubuntu install, you can find. Let's say that you want to build LineageOS for a specific device. If you go to the LineageOS homepage, I also do a. So if you go to the LineageOS homepage, you can browse through the devices they support, and let me tell you, there's a big list.
Yeah. Do you want us to pick now?
So I'm interested in Xiaomi Hydrogen. This Hydrogen is the code name for the phone I'm interested in. Okay. And if I'm opening the given phone, it offers me to download the builds. So I can download compiled builds for the device. if I don't want to take the time to compile it on my own, but I want to compile it because I want to do some modifications, and for each device you will find a build guide. So if you open the build guide, you will find, you will find detailed instructions how to set up your phone to be able to receive the new ROM. Let me move on for a little bit. And for each device you will find building instructions. So I'm showing you the build instructions for my phone, and some informations you can find for a given phone are basically very similar to each other. So there's always an introduction, and after that they suggest you to set up an environment and install some basic tools. So when they are suggesting you to set up your environment, they usually put you on a page which is an Android page, and you can find detailed instructions what comments you have to issue to be able to set up your environment. This is, I think, the most important.
Wait. So we are talking about, we are not doing anything on the device. This is the host environment for compilation.
The host environment. You have to install some basic development packages like GCC multilib, because you are building something for a different device. Some basic stuff required for compiling something.
Yeah, usually what's happening is that your host OS is an x86 based, and you are cross-compiling to some ARM architecture.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you are suggested to do these commands, and it turned out that although I'm using a virtual machine which is thought to be created especially for compiling Android, but some of these requirements were missing. So even though you are using, for example, this built Ubuntu virtual machine, you are suggested to issue these commands for setting up your environment anyway.
Yeah, commands. Okay. All right.
And I would also suggest you they also telling you after you set up your environment to install ADB and fastboot. These are ADB is Android debugger, and fastboot is a utility to can issue some remote commands to your phone if it's connected to a USB to your laptop or your machine.
Like I think fastboot with fastboot, that's the command you can like back up your device with, right?
Yeah, you can use fastboot to back up your device, and you can also flash something using fastboot on your device.
Or is it ADB?
If, for example, you screw up something and you get into a boot loop, you can use fastboot to flash an official ROM on your device and get your device out of the boot loop. So these tools can be very handy, and I haven't used this platform later, but you can find official packages for Ubuntu containing ADB and fastboot. So you can just simply apt sudo apt get install these utilities, or you can follow their suggestion to look for these platform tools. But all in all, you need these two utilities, and you have to put them somewhere where your building environment can find it in the path.
Okay.
So you have to move it to a directory which will be searched for when your operating system is looking for a binary.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, here it shows you have to install build packages, and it also says that, for example, if you are using an older version, you have to replace some stuff. But
Okay.
I'm using a new version, so I didn't have to do that.
Okay.
It's important to know that for LineageOS 14.1, you need OpenJDK 1.8. So that's why I suggested to you to use Build Ubuntu VM 2.0, because 2.0 contains this version of OpenJDK. After that, they are suggesting you to create your base directory, in which your repository will be placed when you are issuing your repository comments. So
Okay.
you are creating a directory for that. In my environment, it's in the home directory. I created a directory called Android, and in that directory I created a directory called System. So
can you increase the font size in the terminal?
regarding the size of the virtual machine, they suggest you to count
Wait, Ati, wait.
50.
Hold on. I'm talking about the font size of the terminal.
Yeah, what should I do?
Increase the font size.
Okay, this is the one we set last time.
Yeah.
But I can.
It seems like that. Maybe just bump it one more, like 16. 16. Or yeah, maybe that's better. Okay.
How about that? Okay, so.
But if you started to talk about the size of the VM and the system, go on and mention that.
Yeah, it suggests to count 50 gigabytes for each type of phones you want to compile your Android for. And for example, I compiled my Android for 2 devices, and let me check the current size of the whole stuff.
So you say
So
DF?
it's now close to 200 gigabytes.
So it's rather
So
100 gigabyte per phone.
It will be many. So you have to either you can use a separate HDD or SDD, or you have to create a large enough place to house a lot of gigabytes. So hundreds, not just a couple of.
Oh, I see.
You have to be prepared for that.
Okay.
Before you start.
All right.
The whole build starts with an initial storage checkout. You have to fetch a binary called repo and place it in a place where binaries are located on your system. For example, in your home directory binary directory.
Okay.
And after you change the mode of this binary to be able to execute it, you have to now you see that the guide is putting these statements in the profile of the given user, so that you include your home per bin in your path.
Okay.
So next time you are logging in, it'll be automatically executed what's in your profile.
Right.
So after that you are checking out your initial repository, which is done by this command. It will be a long process, because although you are going for this version of
You were going for the 14.1 version of the.
Yeah, I just lost trace
Yeah,
because
you were
of
there.
the yeah. So although you are going for this version only,
Yeah.
it'll fetch the whole stuff.
So this repo is
So
almost
it-
some modified Git command, and I see that the -b is the branch. You are downloading that branch of the
Yeah,
whole Git repository.
you are checking up everything and you are setting the branch to this.
Uh-huh.
And by issuing this command, you will already fill many gigabytes.
Mhm.
And after that, you did this initialization of your repo. Next time you are working on, you only have to issue this command to keep it up to date.
Mhm.
So for example, I'm doing a repo sync now.
Is this repo executable come from Google, or is it heritage from CyanogenMod?
It comes from Google.
Uh-huh.
As you can see, and now I'm doing, but I was doing a repo sync lately, so it'll finish very quickly. But if you haven't synced your repo for a long time, it'll take time.
What is a long time?
And a couple of minutes.
No.
And I also have an experience that it often fails because it tries to manipulate downloads parallel, and sometimes these parallel downloads tend to fail. So if you see an error message upon sync, you have to repeat it, and after, because of your network is not fast enough or cannot handle the parallelism it tries to issue, so sometimes you have to issue it a couple of times to make it successful completely.
Okay.
Now it'll finish. So it's already finished because it was a flash repo. And let me return to this one. So when I showed you this code, you can see it fetches the repo. You see
This
Java?
command, yeah.
That
It fetches the command.
it fetches from Google
Uh-huh.
and puts it in Bin. So
Okay.
it's a Google
Right.
binary.
Mhm.
After you did your repo sync, you have to prepare device specific code.
Uh-huh.
And you can simply follow these steps. So you have to issue source builds and environmental setup. Oh, it's still doing something in the background.
Okay.
And let me return. And then you have to issue this command, breakfast hydrogen. Hydrogen is the code name of my phone. You have to replace this hydrogen with the code name of your phone you are compiling Android for. Very important that sometimes this breakfast command requires some proprietary blobs from the phone. You can either fetch your proprietary blobs from your phone on your own, but if you don't want to take the time and play around with this to fetch these stuff from your phone, I suggest you to use a very special repository which is a home for many of these blobs.
Okay.
This is called the Muppets.
Ah,
Let me.
interesting. Okay.
So this is the GitHub.com, the Muppets.
Okay.
And at Muppets you will have all proprietary stuff for all major vendors. You see ASUS, OnePlus, Motorola, Lenovo, Samsung, Xiaomi.
Let's search for
And you can
Alcatel.
use this. Yeah, please repeat.
Let's search for Alcatel. I'm curious if they have any. Oh, okay. They have some.
You see, and if I go in, there's only a single device here, Idol 3.
Oh, Okay.
So it depends on the vendor, you know, how many vendor Zook. This is for, I'm sure it's for the Lenovo Zook, which has been shipped officially by with Cyanogen mod. But if I go into proprietary vendor ASUS, I will find a lot of devices here because ASUS is very friendly for hacking their phones. This is, for example, Zenfone 2, and you can see that you have multiple versions of Zenfone 2, so you have to check your device exactly which version you are having, or you have to check it before you buy it. But all in all, you can use these Muppets repos to supply these blobs for you. And let me show you how you can.
These blobs, can we compare it in the Linux world to those drivers which are non-open source and you have to supply that?
These are not drivers. These are blobs, usually parts of the firmware which are not open. So you quite need them to be able to do your stuff.
Right.
So after, if you choose to use this kind of Muppets repo, you have to place, I don't know if it's large enough.
Can you see this well? Maybe there's a part where on the left panel the files are not showing too well because the color is very close to the background, the file color to the background color, but if you highlight it, it's good.
Okay, and the font size is large enough?
I think yes, you just have to move the cursor
over
the file you want to show.
So my repository is located in this directory, so home Android system.
Okay.
And in this home directory, we will have a .repo directory. You enter the .repo directory, you will have a local manifest directory. If you don't have this directory, you can create it by yourself, local manifests.
All right.
And in this directory, you have to create a room service XML file if it's not there. Let me show you the contents of this file.
Breakfast and room service. Okay.
You can still see it here.
Yes.
So as you can see, I placed some.
Wait, I see.
For example.
Yeah, these are all kinds of different, like Asus and Xiaomi. Where did you get this stuff?
Some of this stuff might be generated by your
build process,
the repo itself. But you can see that I placed these two Muppet entries here for Xiaomi and Asus. Next time you are doing your repo sync, it'll take more time because it will fetch those blobs from the Muppets repository, and these blobs tend to be several megabytes large, so it may take some time until it finishes.
That's not too big. Okay.
But it's sometimes 100 megabytes and stuff.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say that it's so large that the whole Android repository itself, but it will occupy some more space.
Okay.
So that is my suggestion if you don't want to play around with fetching your own blobs from your phone.
Okay.
After I'm returning to the compilation, so it's discarding one commit. I'm sorry, but I don't know what is discarded, but let's forget about it. So returning on the
okay, we got these blobs.
we are compiling our own, so we have to set up our environment,
Okay.
and then
Yeah, so
and then we are running breakfast, putting the code name. So hydrogen is the code name of my phone.
Okay.
And let me tell you what you will see. You see, for example, this message: dependencies file not found, bailing out.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
First, I thought that this is a blocker. This is a no-go message.
Okay.
But it turned out that you just don't care about it. So I think the lesson here is that if you see some frightening message, you may not have to care about it. Okay.
All right.
So
That's usually
because
the
I
software.
it took several days for me until I figured out that it's normal. So
Okay.
don't forget about this, and you have to think about this version as well, that it's something is normal, which first would look frightening. After that, we move on, and if you are doing your own extraction, you may have to issue extract files for your phone, but I skip this and use the Muppets repository.
Okay.
They suggest us to set up Ccache. You know what Ccache is?
What's that?
It's a compile cache. It places some interim compilation files in a cache, and it speeds up your compiles pretty well.
50
So
gigabytes?
they suggest to set up a 50 gigabyte cache for your compilation. Otherwise, it will take much longer than it takes. It already takes long, but if you don't use the C cache, it will take really long. Okay?
Yeah, I guess 50 gigabytes is
so
compared to 200 is not too big.
So I suggest you to follow their advice and set up this one. And you can also, you are also advised to enable cache compression. It'll be much more effective for the compilation.
And wait, this cache, is it an in-memory cache or it's on the...
No, it's a file cache.
Okay, all right.
And the compiler is storing some interim data in that cache, which it can reuse for compiling other files. So some stuff can be reused for many source files.
Okay.
And then they advise to configure Jack, a Java compiler used for building, with this command. You may play around with it. It sets the size of the memory. So you may play around with it, but I'm following their advice and setting it exactly how they advise.
Okay.
And after that, you issue this change root, and I think we can start a quick build because it won't be so long.
Okay.
This is the most important command, which will actually create your stuff. And don't be frightened. It generates a lot of messages, and sometimes these messages will be frightening. Don't be scared at many of these messages. So many of the warnings and stuff showing up on your screen should not be taken care of.
So
I hope that it will finish pretty quickly.
Well, I have a question.
So, for example, this.
I have a question that since the Android is based on Linux, I am familiar with compiling Linux kernels. So, is there any like configuration page, configuration step where what you have, like when you compiling the Linux kernel?
The sound is not completely okay, so I could not hear you pretty clearly, but you are asking about the Linux kernel.
That if you have such setup screens like what you have with compiling Linux kernel?
Yeah.
That's the question. Do you have such thing?
I also did not understand the first part of your question. So compiling Linux kernel.
Yeah, you have these setup pages where you configure the kernel.
You don't have to configure your kernel. As you are choosing your code name for your phone, and you are setting up your repository for compiling your version of Android. By choosing your type of phone, it'll also install a configure file for your kernel and all stuff like that. So you don't have to configure your own kernel, but you can do it otherwise.
Okay.
So I especially want to make an example. For example, let's say that I'm worried about a given security flow discovered lately. For example, this is CV 2017. So this CVE, which is here, it's a problem with the XFRM part of the Linux kernel discovered, and it involves many versions of the kernel. So you say that the current Android kernel is not patched against it. So
okay.
I would say that you want to patch your own Android kernel for it. Then in the repository, you can find your kernel so we have the repository here in Android system.
Okay.
And you can enter the kernel, and if you enter the kernel, you can see the devices you compiled your Android for. I'm choosing Xiaomi, and here I see this is the hardware my phone is based on, and here is the Linux kernel source for this phone.
Okay.
And let's say that I want to patch it. So if I want to patch my kernel with this patch for the CV, I can do it before compiling my Android. So you can patch your own Android, you can patch your kernel, and you can patch other stuff of your things. So let me return. So you can see that it's compiling some stuff. It's not so many. So if you are doing your first compilation, it will take much longer.
Yeah, this is differential compilation now?
Yeah, it's doing the compilation, and it also gives you a marker where it is at. You see? So,
okay.
So you can see where are you in your process, but as you can see, it won't go with a given rate. So sometimes it speeds up a little bit, sometimes it slows down, but at least you can see what you can expect approximately. So it's doing some compilation now. Let me show you why I really needed this kind of compiling my own, and I want to show you what is the difference between the hydrogen phone and the premium, which is called helium. So if I'm entering in the this is a diff file.
So diff file, basically the Git itself as a source control system is operating with diff files. That's all what it does. It gzips it, and all the differential part is stored at some point with diff. And when he was doing a patch, the patch command is also basically feeding in a specially crafted diff a patch is a diff, basically. So
Yeah, when you are patching, you are using the diff file to modify your source. I'm sorry, I assume that you know that. Returning to the GSM Arena specification of my phone, I showed you that the CPU of the two models are different. And one of the model is a hexa-core, and the Prime, which I have, is an octa-core device.
yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah, I think we remember that.
yeah. So, if I return here and take a look at on the differences, you can see that here this setup is for the. I don't know.
Hexa.
You can see my mouse.
Yeah, it's visible.
Can you see the mouse? So this is for the 6-core setup, and this one is for the 8-core. So you need these kind of modifications to set up your CPUs properly and to make use of your hardware. If I would flash the ordinary Hydrogen Android LineageOS firmware on my phone, it would not use completely all 8 cores.
It would actually work just with 6 cores?
It would work, but it wouldn't use all the cores.
Okay.
So you see,
given that it would work only if you have also exactly the same GSM chip, the same LTE chip, all of the same chips, right? That matters?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So it boots and it does it fine, but I wouldn't make use the whole hardware.
Okay.
So that's why I apply these changes, or for example, Mac CPUs and stuff, all sorts of things like that. Well, let me show you another patch here.
Oh, these are security patches?
No, this is also, you see this one?
Yeah, yeah.
Where it's basically
a profile manager.
Changes the power profile. So it changes the power profile from one cluster having 4 cores and the other cluster having 2 cores to the other cluster having 4 cores as well. So I think even those who are not experts in this field can see these clear differences. These are obvious. I don't know what you think, Csaba.
Yeah, I think so. It's just I wouldn't necessarily dig down. Yeah, but yeah, so it's pretty.
So it's not rocket science. You only have to alter some things to make it optimal for your phone.
Yeah, but from on top of my head, I might not come up with this. So where did you get these diffs from?
Yeah, it depends on your actual phone, but I'm using the there's a person called Nigel 8.
Oh, so this is specific for your phone. So you need to, if you realize that the profile doesn't match exactly your phone, you need to search for such configuration files.
Yeah, there's a person on XDA developers who is also digging himself into the problem, and he's more of an expert. So, and he also keeps a GitHub repository, and also you can see some changes he introduced. But we can take his code and study what he changed from hydrogen to helium. So that's what I did. I just took a look on the diffs in between hydrogen and helium, so what he did. And he did these things I showed you, these kind of things. He did, I have to admit, he did some more. He altered the audio system, and he also introduced some stuff he wanted to, but I took only those parts of his modifications which are relevant for the CPU. So,
I see.
because I doesn't care about his needs regarding the audio profiles and stuff. So,
But why not apply everything?
what?
Why didn't you apply all what he did?
I don't know, because because I have more time.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to study these changes, and I just cherry pick those stuff which I really want to. So
Okay.
I can't give you a reason, because
all right.
I'm a little bit crazy.
Okay.
Because otherwise, actually, I could even use his own he also complies his own LineageOS.
I see.
So if somebody would want to, I could also use his own. But I wanted to do my own.
I see. He might not patch it with that security patch you showed. Okay.
For example, that can be one reason. So the compilation is still going on with Ccache. Actually, so you can. I suggest you to use a fast enough machine. For example, this is a four-core, relatively good mobile CPU with 32 gigs of RAM. So the compilation, you would not expect this compilation to go quick. And it also depends on your virtual machine settings. So you can limit your virtual machine how much resource it'll use to not consume all your free resources while doing the compilation. So it'll take a little bit longer. I'm sorry, Chubb.
What do you expect? What do you expect? How?
A couple of more minutes before we can talk a little bit more until it finishes. I'm going back to the compilation. So the build should begin. You can drink your coffee and do your stuff, and then after the build is finished, you can change directory to the place where the environment will place the compiled files.
Okay.
So
we end up with 2 files?
Please?
We will end up with 2 files?
Basically, yes. So this is the out directory in our repository, and it will place all the stuff here. You see that I compiled multiple.
Yeah.
These are the code names of the phone. So I enter the out directory, target, product, hydrogen, and you can see some zip file already compiled. So I compiled several times.
I see.
You see, and let me tell you that the size of the basic LineageOS install is much smaller than usually the ROM supplied by the manufacturer.
Why?
And it doesn't contain any bloatware, and it even doesn't contain the Google stuff.
Oh yeah.
So on top, and it's still going on, but you see that it's sped up, so it's going quicker now. So apart from grabbing your recovery image and your install zip, you also meant to download your own copy of Google recent Google stuff. Let me go back to the Nigel A.
is that the App Store and Google Maps and stuff?
Yeah, all Google stuff. Let me show you the mirror. This is the OpenG apps package. You also have to download. This is the OpenG apps homepage.
Open Google Apps.
Open Google Apps, and you to be able to download it, you have to choose your platform, which is most usually ARM 64 nowadays. One example is, for example, the Asus Zenfone, which uses an Intel chip. And you also have to choose which versions you want to flash.
What's that?
For example, Pico means the bare minimum Google Play, Nano minimal functionality, but including some extra, Micro, Mini. I at least suggest you to do the full. So it will put most of the stuff you need, but I usually go for the Aroma. Aroma, or I don't know how well I'm pronouncing it. Aroma is an installation framework, and it was created to be able to create installations with modules. So when you are using an Aroma installer, it will give you a graphical interface, and you can select each component package by package. So Aroma will be the largest installation package of Google Apps, but after you are using this one, you can select which parts you are installing on your device when you are flashing it on your device. The other choices will give you the given detail of Google Apps, and you can flash them, but they won't ask you which parts you want and which parts you won't. This one will ask you one by one what you can tick the boxes, which parts of the Google installer you want to flash. And it's getting updated daily, so you can grab your Google Apps for each install you want.
Interesting. So when you select, it's like, do you want Google Maps? Do you want Google, I don't know, search? This granularity?
You cannot imagine. Yeah, you cannot imagine how many parts of Google Apps you are having now on your phone. So they start from audio system to map, browser, so all sorts of the system is included in that. And you can fine-tune your install using these OpenG apps.
Wow. Okay.
.org.
Cool.
In order to do the install, you need to grab your recovery, your installation zip, and you also advise to grab your copy of Google Apps. And the way it goes that you are unlocking your boot code of your phone, and you are flashing the recovery image, and after booting into your recovery, you can flash your zip. You flash your installation, and then you flash your Google Apps on top of it. One more thing you may have to consider, that LineageOS provides its own root system. So if you want your LineageOS to be rooted, you can grab a separate package for rooting your phone, and then you have to flash your root package as well, which is a small modification, so it'll be only a small file additionally to your main installation package and Google Apps. So I think we are getting close to
Wait,
the
we have
finish.
a question.
Yeah.
The Google Apps, how do you get that into the recovery image? Or say how to do that?
How do you get the Google Apps into the recovery image?
How do I get the
Google Apps into the recovery image.
No, the recovery image, you have to flash the, let me return. You have to flash the recovery image and then you have to boot into your recovery image. Let me go back and I will go to the installation guide. How to install LineageOS on the Xiaomi Max. You have to unlock your bootloader, we mentioned that, and we have to install the custom recovery using fastboot. And then I can install the LineageOS from the recovery after I booted the recovery I flashed. So unlocking the bootloader, I don't go into details. Xiaomi officially supports unlocking the phone through their website. So I unlock my device, I connect my phone to the computer, and I'm using the fastboot utility I installed on it. If you remember, we mentioned that while we were setting up the environment that we need this tool. You have to, yeah?
Nothing, go on.
You have to enable USB debugging on your device before you are doing that. And you can also grab recovery from TeamView. So you may not have to use your own compiled version, but you can also grab your TeamView. And you connect your phone via USB and issue this command, adb reboot bootloader. It'll bring you, and these instructions may differ phone by phone. So for this given phone, I have to hold down the volume down and the power buttons simultaneously, and then I have to hold it down until I see the fastboot word.
Maybe I will show.
And
maybe I can show how the bootloader looks just in a second.
Yeah, and if you put your device successfully into the fastboot mode, if you issue this command, fastboot devices, your device will show up in the fastboot devices list. So you will see your device in this list.
But wait,
and
so, yeah, okay, go on.
If you make sure, if you cannot see your device on this list, there might be some problem. You may not put it in USB debugging mode or something else. Let me give you, for example, a hint. For the Asus Zenfone 2,
this is too
I
small.
have trouble.
Small phone.
It's too small.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Let me.
You can
I will.
You can click on the top left icon.
Yeah.
And then go change settings, and then appearance, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's too big. Try 18. Oh, all right.
So this is my own server. So for example, I had trouble putting my Zenfone 2 into this fastboot mode, and I note this down. Don't forget to disable MTP PTP USB mode to let the device appear in install mode. So, for example, this given model, when you plug it in the USB, it will offer you to be in the MTP or the PTP mode. And you have to do it before you reboot. You boot your phone before you put it in, connect it to the USB. It offers this selection, and you have to switch both off. 3 weeks until I figured it out. You have to switch off both, and then reboot, and then it'll show up in the fast boot list we are mentioning. So for each device, there might be some tricks how you can put the device into fast boot mode, and there are some subtle differences from phone to phone, how you achieve this state. Could you show it?
Well, not the fast boot. What I can show is how it looks when I'm already in the bootloader, the theme win, if somebody haven't seen that before. So
actually, it's pretty funny how the Xiaomi looks like when it's in the fast boot mode. You see, there's a. Is it detailed enough, Joe?
I think, yeah, we can see it.
Maybe
Wow,
this one is better.
That's funny.
So this is when you can put your Xiaomi phone into the fast boot mode with a big red star on the Oshanka worn by this hacker.
Okay.
So it's clearly a Chinese phone. If you see this, your phone is in fast boot mode, but it will differ from phone to phone.
I see. Yeah, when I first did that, I didn't know that I should stay here and don't actually boot the phone all the way up, because I thought that the phone's gonna be, once it's booted up in fast boot mode, but later I learned that actually you have to stay here to be in fast boot mode, and then you can do these installation commands or backup and stuff, right? Are you with us? Oh, something happened.